Hi everyone, welcome back to What's the FinTech, your FinTech Feel Good show. What's the FinTech is a news and information platform covering the latest FinTech development in Hong Kong, Singapore, China, and Asia. Join us every week for an engaging conversation with various Asian tech figures to discuss about entrepreneurships, emerging technologies, customer engagement, and partnership. Before starting this interview, please like this interview, share it with your friends, or send this podcast to your friends. And today we have Keith from OliveX. Hey Keith, how are you?
Great to be here. I'm excited.
I'm the most excited because we met during 2019 when we were on the Genti. I really love your product with OliveX, what you have done with Kara, and what you are doing right now also on the gamification. So it's great to have someone like you pushing forward the boundaries of Web3, adoption on NFTs, and fitness together to mass market. I really
Mhm.
like it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm super excited to talk about what we're doing, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think you are the best person to speak about what you are doing. So maybe you can introduce yourself quickly and share with us who you are, what you have done before, and where did you grow up.
Yeah, so my name is Keith. I'm CEO of OliveX. We're a company that's trying to motivate a billion people to get healthier through our games, Zombies Run, Dustland Runner, Dustland Rider, and also returning digital property rights in Web3 uh, through our gamification of fitness.
Perfect. Um, how did you start this company? How the idea come to you? Because I saw also you're a basketer. I don't know if you're professional or amateur, but I can see some of your highlight on Instagram. But how the thing came to your mind to bring together, Olivex, the sport, the fitness?
Yeah, so I studied computer science in Canada, and after I graduated, I worked in an accounting software firm as a programmer. I did that for 3 years, and I decided at that point I don't want to program accounting software anymore. I want to do something I'm interested in. And so at the time, in my spare time, I was coaching a basketball team at my wife's school for free. And I liked it because I like to see people develop and grow. And so that was a signal. It's like, what would you do even for like no money is something you're really passionate about. And so on the side, I wrote a basketball app and then it became the number one sports app on iOS and Android. I quit my job. That was my first company. And then that company got acquired by, Animalca Brands. And then I started my second business. The first business, basketball is great, but the impact is kind of small. There's not a lot of basketball coaches. So the second thing I'm really interested in is fitness. And so I wanted to gamify fitness. And so that's how we started OliveX. And we were really inspired by Pokemon back in like 5 years ago, right? So we wanted to do more of that. That's the beginning of our company.
So really inspired about augmented reality and the experience of bringing like virtual to your real life together and give you a better customer experience.
Yes, and I think there's more to that. I think the trend we're seeing is what I call fitness 4.0. So fitness 1.0 is DVD and cassette tapes, like Jane Fonda. 2.0 is live streaming and on-demand videos. Everyone's done that. I think right now we're at fitness 3.0, which is fitness as a game. You have Pokemon Go, of course. You have Swift, a cycling game, indoor cycling game with millions of players. You also have Ring Fit, the Pilates
Mhm.
ring on Nintendo Switch, that sold out during COVID, right? So um, that's 3.0. But what we're seeing, what we're trying to build is Fitness 4.0. All these games are silos. Imagine I play and I run in Dustland Runner for 10 kilometers. I get a black hoodie NFT. I can use that hoodie in my running game, cycling game, boxing game, yoga game, all interconnected. That's the vision we want to build because it comes down to this. When I ask you about why do you know, what do you think about working out? It's painful, it's boring, it sucks. Why can't it be fun? We think fitness games can do that.
Yeah, I do a lot of sport as well. And for example, for Strava, when you run, you
Mm,
can have like some of the medals and you can have your personal record. And
mm,
also you can compete to others and see
mm,
if you're the fastest on this kind of segment of when you run.
mm.
But it's the same when you go to the gym. Like if you don't see the result on your body, maybe it's better to have like kind of a games to say, oh, I'm leveling up. Like I'm taking like level 10 or I'm close to level 11 if I still go 3 times this week. So I totally understand what you mean here. It's really interesting to see how you can frame the gamification with the sport and give rewards to everyone.
Yeah, no, there's a lot to talk about there because, like, honestly, majority of people don't work out. Like, you got like 90% of the population who don't not as fit as you, and so how do you get them into fitness? Right? We think games is part one, and then part two is like, why do people not build a fitness habit? Right? Is because, as you know, you go to work out like 3 times, you're not going to see results. It takes a long time. Um, Games give you that immediate satisfaction. It's like you seeing progress, right? And you talked about Strava, and I'm going to go there a little bit and say a lot of fitness apps have tried to what they call gamify, but we don't think that's the true gamification because games can basically be boiled down to the core loop and the meta game, right? The core loop is what happens while you're doing it. I think a lot of fitness apps don't do anything there. So for Strava, when you're running, nothing happens. You only get the reward afterwards, right? You get the points, you get the badges. We think that while you're running, or while you're cycling or swimming, you should get some gamification element. And that's what we do with Dustland Runner because there's an audio story. You listen, things are chasing you, you're saving the world. That's what we're trying to do.
Okay, very cool. I've seen one of your product before, Kara, the mirror where you have your PT in front of you and you can do the exercise with them. And I was really impressed when I saw it the first time. And recently I went to Cyberport here in Hong Kong and I saw the demonstration in front of us. And all my colleagues were super impressed to see that. So maybe can you explain us when you start OliveX if Kara was your first product or not and how you developed that product, how it came to your mind and how you develop it phase by phase, iteration by iteration?
Yeah. As much as I would like to say, oh, I landed on this Web3 um, move to earn thing like from day one. Obviously, it didn't happen, right? We've been around for 5.5 years and we've had a lot of pivots. Initially, we started with, we basically, the first game we did was called Garfield Fit. We took Garfield and we did like a Pokemon Go clone, but it didn't work because Garfield is a lazy fat cat and it doesn't make sense to go out. And so we pivoted. And at the time, connected hardware was really, really hot. And so we created Kara, which is a smart life size smart mirror with AI technology where you can work out with the top celebrities in Hong Kong. We sold a bunch of those, but then uh, post COVID, um, connected hardware is really hard to do. As you can see from like some of the major players like Peloton, they're all struggling. The cost of goods is expensive, delivery is hard, and so we also pivoted into what we're doing right now, which is Web3 move to earn gaming.
Can you explain a bit about what you are doing exactly? What are the mechanics? How you can earn by doing some sport?
Yeah, yeah. So right now we have two games. Let's talk about our core game that is not Web3 related. It's called Zombies Run, which is the number one audio running game. And as how it sounds, you put on your headphones, and then you don't have to look at the screen. And the story goes, "Hey, there's zombies everywhere. You gotta run. There's like a safe spot, maybe like 100 meters away." And then 30 seconds in, you hear zombie sounds, "Roar," and they get closer and closer unless you run faster, right? And then as you develop the story, you meet friends, you try to save the world, and then that's the audio story with Zombies Run. We took that product's engine and then we developed a Web3 product, which is called Dustland Runner. So, post apocalyptic world, climate change, you're now a delivery person, deliver goods from one place to another. If you successfully complete the mission, you get rewarded with our token, which is Dose token, and you'll also get the chance to craft some NFTs as well.
Very cool. How long is a run if I run with the zombie audio?
Yeah, so we have different missions. We have people that play for 4 or 5 years. Um, there's missions that are 10 minutes. There's missions that's like 45 minutes. You just pick the one that you like. And so there's something for everyone.
But when you run faster for 40 minutes, or you start slow and you sprint at the end, or you have to always sprint faster and faster and faster
Y-
for 40
That's
minutes?
a great question. So our game, people like it is because the one word everyone uses is because it's inclusive. Like I said in earlier, we want to get the people that are not super active to get into it. We don't want to make it too difficult, right? And so you can turn off the chase mode, but then if you turn on the chase mode, you only get 3 or 4 or 5 intervals, and you don't really have to run that fast. You just have to run faster than like what you were before, and so it's totally doable. You don't have to like go crazy.
Okay, cool. This is in an application on Spotify, or how
Yeah,
can I?
so this is on iOS and Android, and you can go download it, check out Dustland Runner, and check it out.
I will try. I will try. I also saw recently that you're traveling a lot. And before this interview, we spoke a bit, and you say you are going to Australia, Japan for work every time. So can you explain if your team is only based here in Hong Kong, if you have like teammates overseas, and why are you going to this country to expand your business there?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we are actually listed in Australia. So we have office in Australia, Hong Kong, Taiwan, um, and so two parts, right? So why do we have offices everywhere? Because Web3 talent is actually, as you know, in Hong Kong is really hard to find, and so we're basically gone completely remote, and we have talent all over the place. And then secondly, for why do I go to Japan so much is because the sector we're in is called move to earn, which is like exercise to earn crypto, and the biggest market is actually Japan. Uh,
Okay.
for a couple of reasons, right? Japan has super high density. People don't really drive, so they walk a lot. So they open these apps and they play these games. So that's why I go to Japan. But we're also seeing a lot of for crypto and Web3. A lot of people going to Middle East, Dubai, Binance moved there. So we have to go where basically the market is.
And so you bring everything through blockchain on your application every time, right? Why did you choose the blockchain technology?
Yeah. So it's really interesting because when no we were stationed inside the Animoca office for a while in 2017 2018, and we saw a lot of different game companies come along at the time. We, you had Axie, you had YGG, you had OpenSea, all these great founders, Sandbox all came in. And the tipping point for me was when I looked at Axie and how they were able to recruit users and retain users. Because if you're in the mobile app industry, everybody knows the most difficult thing is actually getting users, right? And it's super expensive to buy a user nowadays, right? So Axie with the blockchain, they're able to incentivize people to come try the game, right? So play to earn. And then the second part is for all mobile games, retention is a killer, right? After 30 days, you like lose 90% of your players or more, right? But then they flipped it, right? They had 80% of people still playing the game. And so that was a trigger point because if we can get that addiction and sprinkles some of that onto fitness, how fit can people get, right? That's the tipping point for me.
Interesting, interesting. Um, I would like to ask you a question about the business model. How do you operate? How do you make revenue from this application you're developing right now?
Yeah, so that is a great question. And I think we're also at an inflection point. So previously, we did have some NFT sales. We sold $500,000 of sold out of our first NFT collection in our game. Where if you
Congrats.
buy, thank you, if you buy the NFT, you unlock more content, right? But I think the dynamics have shifted, right? Right before, a lot of people were buying. I think the evolution has been in the beginning, you just want to buy art, and then it shifted to like utility. What can I do with the NFT? And then right now, I think you're buying for utility and community, but the model has changed because people used to like it's like a Kickstarter. I throw out an NFT 10K collection, I've raised like $1 million, but then now that's not working so well. The way we do it is basically we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Why do people buy stuff in games? Two things, right? Number one, they want more content. Content is king. You don't want to play the same level all the time. You got to pay to upgrade and unlock new levels. And the second thing, people want to save time, right? Because there's an item, there's a sword that takes you like 100 hours, but I don't have the time. I want to accelerate it. I'll buy it, right? So using those principles, you can buy the NFTs in our game to unlock new content, unlock new levels, and save you time. So that's how we monetize. Same as Web 2, basically.
Mhm. I got an experience. One of my friends is running a lot, and he used an app where he earned NFT when he ran every time. Like he earned coins, not NFT, sorry. And he got also a kind of special pair of shoes with an NFT. And when he run, he make more money with this one. But every day he has to run like, for example, like 10 to 15 kilometers. Is it something like this, like you are looking to develop or you are developing already?
Yes. So I kind of know what you're talking about. And then I'm going to spend 1 second to explain how I think they're different from us. A lot of move to earn games, you buy an NFT that allows you to earn more money. I think that's fundamentally like an issue there because you're just kicking the ball down the road. And the question I want to ask is, are you playing to earn money or are you playing because it's fun? If you're buying an NFT item just to earn more money, you're just playing. Now, what happens is if the token price drops and the market crashes, then everyone leaves because it's not fun and they're just in for the
That's
money.
what happened to my friend.
So what we're trying to say is, okay, we don't want to do that. We want to keep people that actually want to play the game. And by buying an NFT, yes, you earn a little bit more, but the main thing is back to what I originally said. You want new levels, you want new content, and you want to save time. That's what we're focused on.
Um, So You want new levels? Bring me to another question: is how do you develop your games and your levels? Do you interact with your customers? Do you do some iteration phase? Do you just try the application with some of the testing groups and come back with some feedbacks and try to enhance this one?
I love that question. So traditionally, games you kind of like hide in your uh, basement and you just build for like 2 years and you let it out, right? But what we've done with Web3 is basically everyone talks about community. And I've never seen this with any product I've built before. I've been in the apps business for 10 years and getting user feedback is impossible, right? You throw out an app and then you don't hear any feedback unless you see a review in the App Store. Right now, we have a strong community in our Discord, and every time we have a release, the community go crazy. It's like within like 5 minutes of an update, people give us suggestions how to improve, they find bugs, and so we are co-developing with the community and giving them what they want. And so it's a new way of building, but I think it's like a paradigm shift because you build a better product when you have feedback from your users.
Do you have some data about your community, where they're based, what kind of demographic they are, where's, like what they are doing, why they come to your application?
Yeah, so you love this because I've been on many panels within the kind of fitness move to earn space and the top three countries, right? So number one is Japan, second is Korea, and then the third one is France.
Okay.
Yeah, so the people that play are you would assume they're super young, but actually no, they're like 30 to 40 years old. Um, And the move to earn space is also different is because most games are like predominantly male, but actually in move to earn is like you have a lot of female too. Because the reason is everybody wants to get fit. And so it hits like a wide spectrum of people. But going back to the original point, why Japan and Korea, and I mentioned it before, is because like the high density, not a lot of people drive. That's why a lot of people play the game. But also they're very like crypto aware. So those are our main target areas.
Very cool. And I believe like the population start to be crypto aware as well. Last time I was in Central and I heard like some a couple, I think like 50, 60 years old, and they were next to the digital art fair. And when they spoke on the street, they say, "Oh, to have NFTs to go to this kind of place, you need to have a wallet." It's interesting to see like people from another generation speaking about this and being aware like you need to have a wallet. And I believe like for this kind of application or games that you're developing, it's also helpful for them to understand how it works. You mentioned your company compared to another one, but in the region, how do you differentiate yourself compared to your competitors, maybe in Japan and Korea?
Yeah. So the way we differentiate ourselves is sounds so simple, but also the hardest thing to do, which is to make a fun game. We don't want to just incentivize people to come and say, "Oh, I just want to earn money. I want to find this game the best, most fun game." And that's actually really hard because if you are into game development, you realize that uh, there's no formula for gaming. It's just like it's like writing a book, right? There's a lot of art to it, and the chances of a game not being fun is super high. Like 9 out of 10 games are not fun. And how do you do that? And my question goes back to is like, since we're on the topic of blockchain and how many blockchain games are so fun that even if there's no earning into it, you play that instead of a Fortnite or Minecraft or Roblox, right? That's where we want to be. And I think once we get there, all the other elements will fall into place.
This is a good point because a lot of games are not really fun right now on the blockchain. I mean, I've tried a lot of them. Some are pretty empty when it's metaverse. Some are in terms of action you can do are really limited as well. Um, is your company based here in Hong Kong, or do you have also offices overseas?
Yeah. So majority of our companies in Hong Kong, um, because when we first started a year and a half ago, what people didn't realize was Hong Kong was actually like the epicenter of like crypto, right? We talked to a lot of investors, and it turns out like when I'm in a Zoom call, oh, you're in Central, you're in Shanghai, everybody was here, right? At one point, FTX was here. Remember? uh, but I think over time, people have shifted. They went to Singapore, and then they're now in Dubai. But that the core team is still in Hong Kong, but we have people all over the world.
And do you also collaborate with other companies to develop like some campaign or some specific items on your game?
Yes. So the biggest difference that we have now in Web3 and Web2 is that in Web2 is winner takes all, right? Facebook ate everyone's lunch, Google ate everyone's lunch, and everyone is like competitors to everybody, right? Winner takes all. But we think it's the opposite, right? Web3 is there's room for everyone, because it's still such an early stage that there's room for. Because an example is like everyone says they're the Ethereum killer or the Bitcoin killer, but look at how many different chains and how many tokens exist, right? I think they can coexist, and so it brings back to we have a lot of collaborations with other projects, and the nature of Web3 is like marketing is also different. You can't just buy users, right? You have to kind of like cross pollinate with other projects. And the best projects to cross pollinate are actually the projects that are most similar to you. So we actually invest and also cross collaborate with other move to earn games a lot. And the dream is back to my first sentence and kind of the conversation is like the NFT that you earn in my game can be used in multiple fitness games. And likewise, their NFTs can be used in my games. So it's like your favorite Dragon Ball is in like your Roblox game, right? So same thing.
Yeah, interoperability of the NFTs, bringing them from different environment to each other. Interesting points for this one. Do you have like any challenge working with some of those partners you're working with right now?
I have a lot of challenges. What kind of partners are you specifically want to?
Like the partners on the Web3 or like co-developing solutions with you?
Yeah, so definitely there are challenges. I think let's talk about interoperability, right? That's the ultimate dream, but there's definitely a lot of challenges because number one, every project is swamped, right? In theory, yes, it'd be great if my project worked with your project, but it's like me opening up an API for someone has to build the API, and the integration requires engineering resources, and everyone's so swamped. How do you have time to integrate that, right? And then secondly, there's also the challenges of multi-chain, right? So we're based on Polygon, and you're on Solana. There's technical challenges. Well, how do you bridge that? How do you? It's not a click of a button right now, but the way we see it is okay, somebody's going to provide the infrastructure to make this happen in the next couple of years, already seeing already. So it's not easy now, but it's going to get better.
What's next for you? Do you have like any project coming soon? Do you have like any development you would like to develop in the next 3, 5, 6 months?
Yeah. So look, we have a lot of projects, but I think right now we're in a bear market, right?
Mhm.
So right now for us, it's about focus. We're just going to focus on Dustland Runner, and we have a new crafting mechanism that's coming out this week. But uh, what I'm trying to say is that while some of our friends in the industry have gone on to like do more things or different things, they actually pivot from the game and they create a marketplace. We just double down on a game, and we believe that to make a really good game that's actually fun and takes about 2 years. So we're gonna double down a gameplay such that you want to play our game for years and enjoy it all the time. So that's what we're doubling down.
Okay, very interesting. And do you have any like structural advantages compared to the market right now? Because you spoke about the technology you developed, the game you are developing right now. But is it for you the advantage you get compared to traditional companies, maybe your competitors or companies on apps?
So what is our advantage compared to other companies,
Yeah,
right?
structural ones. I mean,
Structural ones.
or technologic ones.
Yeah. So look, I think for a gaming company, right, like us, um, so I was in the apps business for a long time, but I think games is different. The advantage you have as a game company is basically the game balance. Uh, Everybody knows Candy Crush is fun, but so many people have tried to duplicate Candy Crush, the mechanism of match three. Why is it not successful? Now, multiple factors, but mainly is like the balance. When do you make it hard and when do you make it easy? And that game balance is like an art. That's what makes it fun. The biggest advantage we have is, like I said earlier, the biggest risk in game is the game is not fun. But we based our game on Zombies Run, which is running for like 7 years now, and it's really, really fun. And so we're just taking the core engine and tuning it. So we solved the hardest problem, which is the game balance and having a fun game, and that's our unique advantage. And on top of that, I think what we realize is that game design in theory, everyone can do, right? My mom would suggest, "Oh, you should do this, add this to your game." She thinks she's a game designer, but actually, it's really hard. And so we have a game designer from Ubisoft that designed AAA games. Like he worked on the last Star Wars game, AAA game, and Far Cry. And to have him help us design the game is also like a really unique advantage that we have.
Wow. Wow. I would love to meet this guy. Like the game of Ubisoft and Star Wars were pretty cool. I played during my quarantine last time, so my girlfriend was like looking at me playing this game and like having fun on it. Um, we speak about the gamification, a bit about your teams, but I would like to ask you: do you have like any culture existing on your company, and what are your culture, your value on your companies with your teams?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and we it took me a long time, but I think I'm very proud of the culture that we have, because there's ups and downs, and so retention in Web3 is really hard, because there's so many opportunities, and I'm just very proud to say that the core team has been together for like 2 3 years. Uh, we have very high retention, very few people leave, and I think the reason being is that we have a great culture, and I think the culture also ties in with the DNA of the CEO. So I lead by like the word I use is love,
Mhm.
and we also focus on a lot of growth. I don't know how to explain it. I just think that the way I measure it is like when we go back to office, how often do you hear laughter and people smiling? If you have a lot of that, then I think you have a good culture.
Um, quick other question on it. How do you promote the culture on your company? Do you have like any kind of interaction with the teams offsite or like building events? Or do you send an email with the value of the company? Or you just make sure when you hire the people that the right people to fit your culture?
Yeah, that is a really, really good question. First of all, I think the way to identify your culture is not to like kind of search for what your culture is. I tried that, and actually, like, there's a discrepancy of what I think and what the team thinks. Actually, I did it the reverse. Like, what do we not want? And like every time we fired someone, we marked out, okay, this is definitely something we don't want. So by identifying what you don't want and then just telling the team, that's part one. And then part two is that I spend a lot of time doing one on ones with a lot of my core execs. And then I tell them to try to spread that to the rest of the team. And then organically, um, I think 80% of the work is just by selection. Because you know what you don't want, you select the people with the qualities that you want, and they'll naturally kind of self fermentate and create the culture that you want.
Okay, interesting. I like this point of view. Um, did you learn a couple of lessons during your journey right now over the last years and a half with your company? And if yes, which one is the biggest one you have learned?
Oh, those are really good
Oh,
questions, and
thank you very
also
much.
really tough questions because I've had many challenges. Right, we pivoted a lot. We've done a lot of things. Um, I think the biggest lesson I learned is that people over estimate the contributions of an individual and underestimate the resilience of a company as a whole. And the reason I talk about that is because we pivoted multiple times, and then whenever you pivot, it's just a word that gets thrown up. But when you actually go through it, you know how painful it is, right? Because some people will leave, some people were hired and not don't have the right skill set. So there were big changes, and when you pivot, you you have to you find out who actually really does believe in you and who you really need. And so that's kind of the biggest lesson we learned.
I think it's a very good point. I didn't hear this one often, but I really like the point of view of the resilience of the company. Because it's true, like some people really want to have an impact and they think they have an impact, but how resilient is your company? How resilient is your CEO as well? And how like it help you to keep moving and moving forward. I'm not really familiar with your industry of move to earn and gamification there, but did you see any trends interesting over the past 6 months or last year? Or maybe do you foresee a trend in the next 6 months that you can share with us?
Yeah, I want to talk about future. We have to talk about the past. I think the blockchain comes in cycles, right? And initially you have like the tokens, and then you had DeFi, and then the year after that you had GameFi, right? And then the year after that, last summer was actually the move to earn summer, right? everybody was buying a shoe and running. But then it comes in cycles. So now this summer is back to DeFi again, right? So I believe my personal preference is history repeats itself. So right now everyone's into DeFi, and I think GameFi is going to make a comeback, and same with move to earn is also going to make a comeback in the next few years.
Interesting, interesting. And do you see any investment method growing right now as well on the market? Before we had ICO, and then we have like the like all those token on the market, NFTs, Web3. Do you see anything happening interesting?
Yeah. So first of all, it's hard right now. it's it's really really hard, but I think investments are still being made, especially in the early stages. Not a Series A and beyond is a lot harder. I think right now people are going back to the infrastructure plays, and also they're seeing things that are have a business model, right? Not just like, oh, I'm going to launch an NFT and then what's going to happen next, right? So I think that's the new trend. People are looking for more solid businesses that actually provide value.
Okay, okay, okay. We are very close to the end of this interview, so I would like to ask you a couple of questions more about you and what you can share with the listener right now. There is any piece of advice you would like to share with anyone listening this podcast or watching this video?
Yeah. So no, obviously the reason we got into um, gaming and fitness and blockchain is that we believe that move to earn is going to bring on the next billion people onto the blockchain as well. Because it's hard, right? There's a lot to learn, and you hear all these stories. It's intimidating. We think that by downloading our app, playing it, and then earning your first NFT, you'll get into the. So my advice is that a lot of people think they can learn blockchain just by like reading, and no, just go and do it, right? Just buy an NFT for like $10 or set up a wallet. Just once you start doing it, that's the best way to learn.
Definitely, definitely. That's what I say to all my colleagues. Where people can learn more about you and your product.
So there's two websites. One is dustlandrunner.com. There you'll find our running game and our cycling if you're into running and cycling. You can also check out our token website, DOSE, dosetoken.com, and check out the token as well. So those are two websites.
One of the questions I also like to ask people is, do you have any books or podcasts you recommend to anyone? Well, one who you listen regularly, or books you have read recently, who stick in your mind.
Yeah, so actually, I was reading one on the way here. It's called Show Your Work, and pertains to, I think, in this new age, everyone should do personal branding, and everyone should have a social following. And how do you build that? How do you get followers from scratch? Read, show your work, and it'll basically tell you how. And in essence, just to condense it, just to give you a teaser, is that people are afraid because they feel like, oh, I have to put out like my work is going to be crap. No, you don't, because uh, the experts forget what it's like in the beginning. So if you're in a stage where you're a beginner, and sharing what you're learning at the same time actually appeals to a certain group of people, right? So don't be afraid and just put stuff out there, and you get better over time.
Totally agree with you. Otherwise, I will never start this podcast, and the first video compared to this one is totally different as well. Where people can find more information about your company on LinkedIn, social media, or Discord, or Twitter.
Well, then I talked about personal branding. You gotta follow me. So it's at Rumjin on Twitter. You can check out our company website as well, www.olivex.com, and also my personal website, rumjin.com. So those are the places.
Perfect. It's almost the end of this year. What can I wish you for 2023?
What do I wish for?
What I can wish you for
Wish
this?
me?
Yeah.
Look, I think as simple as it sounds, I just want good health,
Oh, very good. Yeah, that's more important
and
than
I wish
anything.
you good health too.
Thank you very much. So it's the end of this interview. I really enjoyed it. It was really fun. I learned a lot from you, especially on what you are doing. So thank you very much for coming here. I had a blast with you.
Likewise, thank you so much.
Thank you. I will see you soon. Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye.